Hello, and welcome to Demystified, the podcast for current and aspiring doctoral students. We're here to help make your doctoral journey more enjoyable.
Yeah, we want to talk about some of the unwritten rules of the Academy, the things you need to know that don't often get discussed. And along the way, we hope we can offer some guidance from our own PhD journeys.
I am William Ankuma, Assistant Professor of Education at St. Francis Xavier University.
And I'm Dr. Julianne Burgess, Adjunct Professor at Brock University. We are diverse folks with diverse perspectives, and we're also recent grads. So today we want to briefly discuss writing and publishing your first paper. And this is a huge topic, so we can't cover everything, but we are going to offer some ideas, some suggestions from our own experiences as recent doctoral students. So
Dr. J, what was your first publication as a doctoral student?
I wrote a book review for the faculty journal, so the Brock Faculty of Education. So I wrote about a book that impacted my thinking about theory and critical pedagogy, my own experience in the classroom as a doctoral student. And William, what did you do?
Yeah, my first paper was a revision I did to my master's end of term paper. I got really good feedback from this professor. And so I incorporated Robert Brown's 8 questions. I used it to guide me to revise it. It was a position paper, not a research paper, because it didn't have empirical data. I didn't have to go to the field to collect any data.
Right.
Yeah, but was published in Society and Animals. And, surprisingly, a few years later, I got an award with that publication. It's the first Society and Animals Early Career Research Prize.
Wow.
I received that.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And your experience tells me that a master's paper has possibilities for publication.
Yeah.
And it also, with your award, that suggests that obviously a paper, a revised master's paper, has the potential to give you some recognition and a boost in your career as a novice scholar.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the process of writing and publishing. What steps should a student take, a doctoral student, to get that first paper out? What did you do?
Yes. So as I engaged with Robert Brown's 8 questions and then read other sources and some courses I took, it was clear to me that first, for me to send anything out, I have my idea of if I'm revising a paper, I should identify 3 potential journals with my first choice and 2 backups, So this paper that I want to send, yes, I know what it is, but would it fit a journal? I should go ahead and select 3 journals. As I said earlier, a first choice and 2 backups.
So why 3? What's the magic about the number 3?
Dr. J, it's always good to have the 3 because we have only, according to research, we have only about 25% of submissions being accepted, 75% rejections.
Well, that sounds pretty dim. So 25% of the manuscripts that are sent to a journal will be accepted, 75% get rejected.
Yes. In fact, some even have like 14% acceptance rate.
Wow.
And so you always have to, it's important to have a backup.
Right.
So that when you are rejected by the first journal, it's not now that you're going to look for another one. So you have, 2 or 3 lined up. So you just fall on your second or your third one.
Right. So don't feel bad. You're in the majority if you get rejected.
Yeah. So, Dr. J, how can you find a good fit, a suitable journal for your work?
Well, one of the best places to go is the DOAJ, which is the Directory of Open Access Journals. This will tell you the journals that do not charge a fee for you to publish your manuscript. So you can use keywords from your article to find the potential journals that you want to investigate. And so what you need to do when you come up with specific journals that may be of interest to you. Read each journal's section titled Aims and Scopes to see if your work is a good fit.
It's very, very important.
Right.
Right? Is it even suitable for the audience you have in mind or not? The aims and scope may be good, but maybe it doesn't fit the audience.
Right.
So you have a lot of decisions to make. I think another place to go is also visiting the publications journal website. Like, for example, you can search through Sage, Taylor and Francis, or Xavier, and they all have fantastic information about what to do and how to be successful in publishing with them.
And they may have calls on the website as well, so that they may have a potential publication just waiting for you to write and submit to them.
Right.
One of the things that I have done is to take a look at the reference lists of the authors I'm reading. So if the article that's really pertinent to my work, was published in a specific journal, well, maybe I need to investigate that journal to see if my manuscript would be a good fit there.
That's right.
Another writing idea, you may also look for an opportunity to write a book chapter. The publishers will tell you if there is an opportunity there with books that are underway there. Your supervisor may be able to help you. He or she may be writing a book or have a colleague who's in the process of writing a book. Maybe your knowledgeable friends, your mentors, other faculty members. And the publication process is pretty similar. There are differences, but for the most part, you're going to follow the same procedure.
Right. Yeah. And our friends, something you really need to be aware of is that as you are selecting a journal, be mindful that there are junk journals or what is called predatory journals. And these journals will charge you a fee. It doesn't mean that the reputable ones, some don't charge, some do. But the fee is higher with the reputable journals versus the junk journals. The junk journals are going to charge you, some $200, $300, $400, $500. And there's a quick turnaround too. You need to be suspicious of that. If a journal is going to publish your paper within 2 months, that's a red flag. And that's not going to really enrich your CV. So you really want to avoid being scammed. It's very, very important here. Beware of predatory journals. That's why Dr. J mentioned earlier, the DOAJ, you go there and you take your time to find something that's suitable for you.
What you're doing, in fact, is aiming high when you're looking at being published in a reputable journal. That's what you should be doing.
Right.
Aim high. So now that you've found your potential journal, your 2 backups, what's next? Let's talk a little bit about the writing process. What type of article will you write? So what are the potentials here? What are the possibilities?
Yeah, so as I said, my first publication was an end-of-term master's paper. So I'm going with revise what you already have sitting there. Is it an end-of-term paper? Is it a conference you presented at? You already have something. Don't throw it away. See whether the focus of your paper meets the aims and scope and the readership of a journal. Go ahead and revise it. Yes.
Yeah. So right from scratch, that's another opportunity. So I wrote the book review as my first publication. I have written, not necessarily for my professional association. So that's not going to be peer reviewed the same way. It's not a premium publication, but it is a publication. And I think that you want to put a variety of work on your CV. I wrote a reflection paper on my teaching practice. There was an aspect of pedagogy that had puzzled me for a long time, so I wanted to write about and reflect on my learning and my growth working with this pedagogy.
Right.
What else? What are other possibilities?
Yes, you can do a position paper or a theoretical paper, a research paper. So with research papers, you are going to collect data, right, empirical evidence. But if it's not your dissertation or thesis, that may be like, you're going way off because you have to go through the research ethics board's clearance and all those things, which is time consuming. So to make things, a bit easier and faster for you, you can just do a position you have on particular topic, write it out.
And something else to consider is co-authorship. You can write with a colleague. So consider writing something like a collaborative autoethnography. Now, this is something after my own heart. I really think this is an energizing way to write. And if you have a bit of an artsy bent, this is something you might want to consider. We also have a little tip for revising your manuscript and for writing. This is something we kept hearing throughout our doctoral journey, which was write fast, edit slow. Maybe not the perfect grammar, but the idea is write quickly, throw it out there on the page, and then slowly edit. Add your citations, wordsmith your language. Do you do that, Dr. Will? Is that a strategy you use? Write fast, edit slow.
Yeah, that's a good question. As you said, an advice that we got from the get-go. I don't. I think everyone has a style that works for them. So don't throw away your style. Instead, of course, keep it and then add anything else that helps you become efficient.
And my technique is write slow, edit slow. It's painful. I still find it painful. I love having written. That's the reward for me. So, William, you have mentioned a couple of times Robert Brown's 8 questions. Take us through that. That was something I hadn't heard of till you just mentioned it now.
Yeah, so Robert Brown has done, writers a really good service by coming up with 8 guiding questions to help you either to revise your paper or to begin afresh. In fact, wherever the stage you find yourself, you can use this Robert Brown's 8 questions guide to help you because it really helps focus your thinking. So much so that you're not really wasting so much time being all over the place. The questions will provide you the framework you need and how to ensure that your paper best covers all the bases, to get you thinking about your audience. In fact, does your paper add to theory? If you're not thinking about that, Robert Brown's questions will get you a bit focused. And I want to give you, our listeners, an example of some of the questions, just 3 once you Google Robert Brown, everything will come and then you have it. But 3 here include, what is the central question your paper will pose?
So you should be able to answer that question easily, clearly.
Or
you need to sit down and think very carefully about that. So that's a good question.
Yeah, and what is the answer it will provide? You pose the question, you go find the answers. If your readers had only 1 sentence to summarize your article, what should it be?
So that's like the golden nugget.
That's right.
You should be able to reduce. That's very hard. Reduce your thesis to one sentence.
One sentence, and then go from there.
Okay. So one more thing before you send in your manuscript, make sure you have someone read your work. Your trusted friend. You need to proofread it and have your friend make any other suggestions to strengthen your writing before you send it in. So do not hesitate to share that paper and make sure it's of good quality.
Yeah, and I want to add here that you can also check in with your faculty. Maybe they provide a bit of money to help you send it to professional editors to pay for that. Because I think we had that in our program. Not many people knew. I never used it. I knew it was there, but I never used it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know that we were required to send proof in with our dissertation and master's as well, that it had gone through a proofreader. We had to show proof of that, which is actually, it just makes you feel confident in your work. It's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, your manuscript is ready. What do you do next?
Send it. That's the exciting part.
Yes.
Send it. You spent months and, sometimes even a year putting this together. Now it's all ready. You've checked all the boxes. Please get it in. And once you send it in, if within a couple of weeks you don't get desk rejected, then you should expect to hear from the publisher within a few months also.
Okay, explain desk rejection.
So
What
the
does that
desk,
mean?
yeah, good question. The desk rejection is when you submit your paper to the editor, they're going to quickly have a look at it. Does your article conform to what the journal publishes? Does it meet the aims, the scope, the audience? If you satisfy all these things, then they're going to push it to the peer reviewers. If it does not satisfy all these things, then they're going to send it right back to you and say, sorry, your paper does not conform to what we do here. So now you need to go to your second backup to see.
Right,
or
your
your
list, the list from the
That's right.
DOAJ.
So once your submission is accepted for peer review, right, as I said earlier, the editor will send it to 2 to 3 peer reviewers, and it's going to go through what is called a double-blind review process. And as you selected your journal, I'm sure you already would have read all these things, so you know what the double-blind is, whether the paper that's peer reviewing or not. Now, in fact, your paper itself, the manuscript as you send in it, it's anonymous. You remove your own personal identifiers and all those things, right, for potential buyers. So it's important that you don't leave your name and where you work and all those things. Now, so each anonymous manuscript will be reviewed, as I said earlier, by 2 peer reviewers who also remain anonymous.
So you don't know who they are, who's criticizing your work.
Critiquing, not criticizing,
That's right.
critiquing your work.
So what are they looking for? What are they looking for?
Yeah, they're looking for the strengths and weaknesses of your theoretical approach and methodology.
Yeah, they're looking for quality and coherence. And they're looking for to ensure that the topic is relevant to your field, to their publication, and they want your writing to be clear and accessible to readers from other disciplines. So they don't want it too jargony. It has to be accessible to readers right across disciplines. You and I have both discovered is that some of the journals have rubrics to help the reviewers appraise your manuscript. You won't see the rubric necessarily, but you can find the rubric online or a rubric or two online. So you can find some examples of the questions that reviewers are asking as they're reading your paper. So that is going to be helpful if you can locate one of these.
Right.
You can see how you're being critiqued on your writing. And if you have the opportunity, if you're invited to be a reviewer, this is a really good opportunity for you to put this reviewer hat on and read another publication critically to see how well it holds up against the journal's standards.
And in doing so, you're actually enriching your CV as well.
Yes,
right?
that's right. That's service work. Yeah.
So now you've gone through the peer review process. So they will send you feedback. The editor, not the peer reviewers. The editor will send you the feedback that the peer reviewers have for you. There'll be a detailed recommendations for you to improve your manuscript and whether the editor should accept or reject your paper. In fact, the editor has the final verdict, either to accept as is, accept with minor or major revisions, reject. And you can always count on some type of revisions when your paper is accepted, because there is always room for improvement. And authors who have been invited to make revisions usually have 1 to 3 months to respond. I just received a paper from an editor, and I have been given 2 months to revise and resubmit.
So that's 2 months is a fair amount of time, depending on the kind of revisions that they're asking from
That's
you.
right.
So responding to the reviewers' comments, I remember the first time I got the responses of the peer reviewers. I was so shocked.
Yeah.
It was like they were breaking my heart. Some of the comments, they felt brutal. They felt so critical. What you need to do is set aside your emotions because the response is intended to be, as you say, constructive criticism to improve your work. So, as you make revisions to the manuscript, what do you need to do? How do you format that? Do you have a preferred style?
Yeah, I think you should always try to compile a point-by-point response to reviewers' comments and be respectful. You may find some of their comments are really confusing or in conflict with each other, or you don't really, the questions don't really apply to your paper.
Yeah, or you edit out a section and that the comment is no longer applicable.
That's right. Yeah. Or some are just too difficult to address. Nevertheless, your responses should always try to address each of their comments thoughtfully.
Yeah, be respectful. So after you submit your revisions, they still may get back to you with more revisions. So hang in there. Hang in there. Yeah, the peer review process is really crucial for the rigor and the integrity of the research process. So what do you need to do?
Just embrace it. Flow with it. Try to do a good job. And as Dr. J hinted earlier, volunteer your time if you're called upon, because in most cases, when you're submitting your paper, they ask whether you be available to review a paper.
It's a great idea, and it's a really good experience. Yeah.
Wow. All too soon. We've come to the end of this fantastic conversation, and we hope that you took some notes. And yeah, that's it for us. Join us in a couple of weeks when we discuss switching your supervisor. For whatever reason,
Right.
you have been listening to PhDemystified. Thanks for joining us. I am Dr. William Ankoma.
And I'm Dr. Julianne Burgess. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at phdemystified@gmail.com. And we'll chat with you again in 2 weeks. Thanks and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to PhDemystified. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to stay updated on new releases. We love to hear from our listeners, so please reach out to us at phdemystified@gmail.com if you'd like to get in touch. This podcast is hosted and produced by Julianne Burgess, PhD, and William Ankoma, PhD, in collaboration with Brock University's Makerspace Studio. Co-produced and edited by Serena Atella. Music is High on Loungin' by Wax Lyricist. This podcast is financially supported by St. Francis Xavier University.